middle-income families to be able to invest in early childhood education and childcare, which disproportionately impacts women. The fact that the average American family spends almost 30% of pre-tax income on the cost of childcare. So the cost of childcare has gone through the roof, and families just can't afford it. So women are disproportionately leaving the workforce.
It actually got kind of interesting from there. We'll have more from that interview in just a minute. She's not the only person we spoke to. We were out there, though. We also sit down with the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, to talk about the administration's plan to overhaul the U.S. tax code. Here's part of it. Mr. Secretary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I think it's fair to say the last election was an expression of anxiety on the part of the American middle class, and the administration has said repeatedly they recognize that. How does this plan address the concerns of the American middle class?
I think, as you know, President Trump from day one has been very focused on the economy.
Yes.
And absolutely convinced that we can get back to sustained economic growth of 3% GDP or higher. And the tax plan is center stage of his economic plan. So this is all about middle-income tax cuts, cutting business taxes, and making U.S. business competitive with the rest of the world.
So if you're a Trump voter and you're making $59,000 median income, what does this mean for you?
You're going to see at least several $100s of a tax cut, and that's what you're going to see, money in your pocket.
So to your critics who say, well, wait a second, corporations are seeing a much larger tax cut. Why is that fair when corporate profits are very high and middle-class income is stagnant? What do you say?
Tucker, 70% of the burden of corporate taxes are borne by the worker. So the reason why we're cutting corporate taxes is so that American business can be competitive. Right now, we have one of the highest tax rates in the world, and that's why jobs are going overseas. So this is about bringing back trillions of dollars that are offshore and making business competitive. That's why we call it Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
So if businesses profit more, workers benefit. That's your argument. But businesses are doing well now. Why aren't wages keeping pace with corporate profits?
Well, again, businesses are doing well. The stock market's doing well. So for rich people, it's been a great 8 years. But for the average American worker, they haven't seen their wages increase. So this is about making U.S. business competitive, having more jobs here, and giving wage increases to workers.
But there's the counter case that corporate profits have been rising, but wages have not been. That's puzzling to people watching.
They've been rising some, but they haven't been rising proportionate with the stock market. And this is going to be about creating more earnings, about, more important, bringing back capital. So we're going to encourage companies to bring back trillions of dollars that will be invested here to have new jobs, new factories, new buildings, new manufacturing.
How much do you expect to come back?
$3 trillion at least. The president thinks it could be 4 or 5.
This bill, as written, would increase the number of people who don't pay federal taxes and basically make the government more reliant.
Things the president has said continuously. This is not about tax cuts for rich people. This is about tax cuts for the middle class. And for working Americans, we're going to raise the standard deduction to $24,000 for families. Here we are at the President Reagan. You know, the President Trump's tax reform will be even bigger.
So the president during the campaign said repeatedly that he was going to give, quote, a haircut to the private equity people and the hedge fund managers by doing away with what is called the carried interest loophole, which allows people to take salary and get taxed at the investment rate, which is almost half. That is still in there. This bill allows that to continue. Why?
I'm sure that's one of the both parties on.
You're gonna push on that?
We are.
Not every group in D.C. loves the plan, and one of the most upset are the realtors and the home builders who are mad about the deductions you'll be eliminating for mortgage interest.
We've preserved in the House version, you know, a $500,000 mortgage that you can deduct the interest. That's an awfully big home in mostly every single part of this country. We're cutting out lots of loopholes throughout the whole tax plan. So there will be people who don't like bits and pieces, but people understand this is a pass-fail exercise. It's critical to the economy, and we're
epidemic spreading in Africa and killing people. What is it? Could it come here quickly? We'll give you details on that with a physician who's following it next.